wholeness, beautiful beings. Welcome to Seeds of Silver Tree. Rashida Silver Tree here, and this will be commentary on the digital age. An experience I just had today, and it was very odd, and I just thought I should share it with you all. And please let me know what you think. So I am 36, or well, God willing, I will be 36 years old this year, but I'm 35 currently, and something happened today. Now, as a singleton, I like to go to places alone. I'll go to the movie theaters alone. I'll go out to eat alone. I'll go to boutiques and walk around and do all kinds of things by myself. I have no problems or issues with this. Excuse the revving of someone's motorcycle. But today I wanted to get some late brunch, and I wanted to try out this new, at this new spot. It was called the Dainty Maid. I'm not throwing shade on the business. I'm just throwing shade at the concept of what they're doing digitally, to service their customers, right? So, I go in, and side note, I've waitressed before. I've waitressed multiple times throughout my working career as a working adult. Since the age of, my first job was a bus girl. I was a bus girl and busted tables at a Chinese restaurant. And from then on, for every waitressing job I ever had, I served tables, or I was a host or whatnot. So, just side note, respect the people who service you, respect the people who offer you drink and food, okay? Because they're human beings too, and you never know where your food is coming from, who's really touching your food, okay? Energy transference is a real thing, and I've seen some things as a waitress. So in my time when I used to do that, right? In my travels too, I would just pick up odd jobs. It wasn't like I was in need of money or anything. I just did it because it's an easy job to pick up. You want to make a little cash because you're bored and you want to get to know people. It's a great way to learn how to deal with customer service and deal with other human beings. So I walk in this morning or afternoon, and the thing is, Dainty Maid, this small little place. It was started out as like a pastry shop, a patisserie, right? Where you go and you get little donuts, little things that are kind of pricey, but they're high quality, and it was like literally a little room, okay, a literal hole in the wall, one door, maybe 2 tables, not very big at all. This was like maybe 10, 12 years ago. Now, all throughout my life, I've traveled all around the state, and where I'm at right now, I've traveled outside the state, outside the country, and lo and behold, I am back in my home state, home area, home region, okay? And things have changed. Things have changed for probably the better, and maybe in some aspects the worse, but things have shifted and changed. This is natural for anywhere, any environment, right? Over time. It just changes. Culture changes, views change, practices change, things change. I'm okay with that. I'm adaptable, I'm flexible. But one thing that really stuck out in my experience this morning, I go in and I sit down at the table. I wait for a hostess or a host to come and sit me down. She comes, she greets me, she says hello, sit anywhere you'd like. I'm like, okay, great, that's fine. So I go and I sit down at a table, and I'm waiting, and I'm like, okay, where's the menu? I say, hey sir, so do you guys have a menu? He goes, oh, you need to scan the barcode or scan the QR code. I'm like, okay, and I've done this before, not on multiple occasions, just on a rare occasion. I'll go somewhere in my travels and you have to scan the QR code to have access to the menu. Usually this is optional. Like, you go to places like chain restaurants like Olive Garden or Hacienda or something, they have the option, you have an option of using an actual menu or carte, okay? Or you use the QR code. So I choose, so the only choice, though, that's available to me is the QR code. So I scan it, and then he explains to me, he goes, this is how you're going to put your order in. You're going to use your cell phone, your smartphone, and when you go through, you choose, you pick what you want to eat, and then he proceeded to say, make sure that you log onto our Wi-Fi as well, because if without the Wi-Fi, your order's not going to come in as quickly if you don't use the Wi-Fi, our Wi-Fi. I'm like, what? So I log into their Wi-Fi and everything's moving smoothly. And I mean, I ended up leaving. Okay, I ended up leaving the restaurant. Normally, I never do this. I always try something off of a menu I never tried before. I love supporting local businesses. I love supporting local spaces and places and people. That's very important for your local economy in this digital age where everything is offline. You can grocery shop offline. You can buy your clothes offline. You can get things fixed offline. Everything is on or offline. But this just really felt very disconnected. And maybe it's my generation. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's, it's just I need to get down with the get down. I don't know. But I was flicking through the menu and putting in my order. So I proceeded to ask this gentleman a question. I said, "Sir," I was like, "what do you do?" I said, "So everything is, you order off the internet pretty much?" He goes, "Yes." And I said, "Okay." I said, "So what do you, and you don't provide menus at all to your customers?" He was like, "No." Like he said, "We have them, but we try to refrain from offering menus to our patrons." And I was like, "So what do you do when the electricity just shuts off?" Do you know he gave me the craziest look? And I don't think it was out of rudeness per se, but it was like how dare you ask that question? What do you mean? It was almost like, what do you mean the electricity gets shut off? Me growing up in the hood with a struggling single mom, raising 5 kids, 2 not of her own, but she did the best she could, but she struggled. We struggled, okay? So I know what it's like to go without running water or light, okay? There, I said it. I have no shame in that whatsoever, at all. I have mad respect for my mother. Mad respect for her. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him. I'm like, huh? To myself. I'm not being like how I am now, being all extra. I try to be very professional and friendly with people. But inside, I'm like, what? I said, yeah, like, what would you guys do if you lose power? And he's like, oh, well, I guess we would just automatically get clocked out and go home. I said, you get automatically clocked out? What? And maybe this is me with all the working experience that I have had since the age of 16. So I'll say damn near 20 years of me working. I will say this. Exploitation comes in multiple forms. It's a very sneaky way of getting paid less than your worth and getting more work out of you. I've met with this in every industry I could possibly think of. Almost every job I've had. Almost. Not every one. Sometimes it's like blatant exploitation. Others it's more devious. Others it's just they're not even aware that they're doing it to you. But I know what it is when I see it. And so I said, you get automatically clocked out. And I'm not saying that he would be exploited at this business, but I'm just saying this whole digital concept of your employer just automatically clocking you out, and you, like, what if you have an employer that you're automatically clocked out in the system, but they still demand that you put in more effort and more time, even though you're not being compensated for that? There are employers that will freaking do that. They will do that to you. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. It had me thinking, because I have an analytical, critical mindset. I like to use my left brain. Okay? When I was in college, my professors would indirectly kind of insult me and call me and tell me and say, Nadja, Rashida, you just have you're right-brained. You're right-brained. Meaning like I had no sense of logic or rationale or intelligence on my left brain here. My lobe over in the left side. It's inactive, right? Low-key, that was very insulting and degrading, but I was too young and too naive and too afraid of people at the time to speak up for myself. But now, though, I'm just looking at this. I'm like, wait. So you mean to tell me that in order to enjoy this beautiful setting in this restaurant that's been here for probably 20 plus years, for multiple decades, I think. And I'm sure the original owners sold it to new owners, and those new owners sold it to new owners, passed down from generation to generation. But it just really dawned on me. I'm like, wow. So you mean to tell me, and and let me continue, and then I'll go into my analysis of what's really going on here. So then he said, I said, so what's the pros with this? Like, how does it benefit you guys as waiters and waitresses? And he's like, well, we get the food out a lot quicker. There's only 3 of us instead of 12 employees. And I'm like, okay, and he said, yeah, it's just super easy for us. We just get the food out pretty much. And so this is my issue. This is my thing with all this. So you mean to tell me there's a higher chance of exploitation when you're using a software, a system that can automatically like clock you out?